Today I'll be showing you about my Semester 4 project, Bridge the Gap, which is a neighborhood market and food court in Bangi Lama. Studio 4 revolves around architecture and environment. And before I start, I would like to give a special thanks to Miss Alina who guided me every step of the way, and Mr. Nasbi who successfully planned a perfect semester even with the MCO situation. As fellow Malaysians, we are all passionate about food, including myself. So this semester in particular excites me a lot. Let me start off by asking you, have you ever noticed how your surrounding actually affects how good your food tastes? Well, keep that in mind when you're having your next meal later today. In the first project, we were to design a small transformable food kiosk, and my food of choice is dumpling. These collages are conceptualization of the feelings I wanted my users to experience in the food kiosk. And this is my final design, inspired by the foldings of dumpling and the bamboo tray that they are served on. The study of transformative architecture plays a vital role for my designs along the semester, and later I'll show you how. The final project site sits at Pasar Bangi Lama, and there's an abandoned community garden behind it since the dawn of global pandemic. The contours of site are actually an interesting trait for us to utilize as design strategies, but also acting as an issue for us to solve. The site sits on the heart of Pekan Bangi and it's accessible by the main road, Jalan Bangi, where the west leads to Bandar Baru Bangi and east to Semengi. Coming from the southwest is another route from Taman Sri Bangi, and there's a new route called Jalan Banting which is mostly used by big vehicles as there's a 2.2 meter height restriction along Jalan Bangi. A convenient KTM station is also located within walking distance. Around the site, there are 3 religious buildings, 3 nasi lemak stalls, and 2 primary schools. The others are all residential. And these are the actual photos of the religious buildings. Now this is a collage which shows the genius loci inside the existing wet market building. Here I'll be showing you the design inspirations that I have extracted from the site. First, the expansion of houses and shop lots, patching of various materials, the dangerous bridge that leads to the community garden, and the issues of silence, emptiness in the huge market to be solved. In this project, my mission is to bring the folks of the segregated kampungs together with a new innovative architectural piece, and also to incorporate cultural events, community garden, and food stalls as part of the programs. For the first step of the designing process, I introduced entry points which are designated properly to specific users such as pedestrians, cyclists, lorry drivers, etc. to increase safety. The main entrance for pedestrians has a 3-meter high elevation following the contour of the site. Cycling culture is part of the identity of Bangi Lama, whether it's to carry out daily routines or as a leisure sports activity. This is how the abandoned community garden currently looks like, and the dangerous bridge shows the extra miles local residents would take for their plantation culture. Moving on to clustering, food court is placed as the most dominant cluster with an upfront facade and a 2.5-story height. The wet market is positioned to overlook the community garden, and the overall clusters are located with the guidance of the entrance's axis. As for the massing, a contextual design is proposed to suit the local architectural style with gable roofs. Here are some of the references. For the next step, climatic studies are carried out and north and south openings are created for maximum natural ventilation. Then the existing natural features are also capped for natural shading and cooling purposes. In accordance to the concept of patching and expansion, the massing is extruded in various directions to create the effect that I wanted. Subsequently, a bridge is formed to link all the clusters together as one, therefore bridge the gap. The final stage will be the structural design, where each clusters exhibit distinctive personalities. Here is the preliminary stage where I explored with the possibilities of 900 square meters of massing. I also played around with different concepts. One of the biggest struggles of mine is to find a way to articulate the different clusters with a unified design. And finally, I secured with the overall idea of having a farm within a market and being the central hub of Pekan Bangi. And by the end of the semester, this is the final product. For the ground floor plan, the clusters as you can see are segregated with gaps. Then on the first floor, the clusters are bridged and linked together. And finally, second floor, the food court represents Malaysians being united together as one by food. Before getting into details of the design, Briag Ingel's motto of implementing sustainability as one of the most important design considerations, whether it's an entirely new city, a housing estate, or even a power plant, inspired me. Creating innovative internal ecosystems is what makes this architectural sustainable, and I would like to adapt this idea to my design too. Moving forward, I'll be showing you the different entry points. This is the main entrance, specifically for pedestrians and cyclists. The prominence of the food court cluster are also shown here. This is the view coming from the back through the community garden. The third entry point is from the car park area, where you are greeted by a portal-like entrance bridge. Going into the clusters, let me introduce the most upfront food court cluster. This is an elevated structure with the double volume food court on top. The interior shows the inverted facade of a shophouse within a house. And in this cluster, I played with brick construction to bring some dimension to the double volume high walls with vents. Right below is the drop-off area where it's close to the OKU lift. The pedestrian bridge also acts as shading for the roads at the bottom with directional shadows. The pedestrian bridge on top is what ties the event and the food court cluster together. There is also a bicycle parking available right here. For the service corridor of the food court, the facade consists of planter boxes tied together by metal rods. Behind the vendor stalls, the vendor can harvest the crops that they planted and cook fresh for the customers. Each vendors have designated facades to plant their own plants, or even customize it towards their own likings, however fitting to their own stalls. Next would be the wet market cluster. This wet market is a multi-layer building to carry out various activities. A mobius strip-like system is introduced where vegetables and fruits can be planted on top, harvested and sold at the bottom. Subsequently, waste can be utilized as fertilizers for crops on top. The OKU parking is located right at the wet market, where the toilet and lift to the food court is close, and ramps are provided. Right on top is where the hydroponic farm, which is rentable, is located, and a washing area is also provided. The house design is also apparent here. Local residents are free to use the workshop area and visitors can interact with them. Here is where the young and old can be educated about the hydroponic system and start farming in their own home. Beside the workshop, there's a leisure area for users to take a rest after a long day of working. Moving on, let me bring you into the transformable event cluster. I took precedent from the shed as I think it's a brilliant design to adapt to various local cultural activities. I implemented the sliding facade to my design and it's powered by car batteries generated by solar panels. The sliding house by DRMM is the structural system precedent I took. Early in the morning, this place would be used for loading and unloading, and also when garbage truck would come. And during the nighttime, this space can actually be widened to twice its initial capacity to carry out mini cultural events. This is how the structure transforms throughout the day. This is also a strategy to intrigue younger demographics to site. Last but not least is the dry market cluster. The garden house by Casper Scholes inspired me to create a manually movable structure. The sliding structures is used as indicators of open and closed stores, which is visible from far away. An open design is implemented in all clusters to allow maximum airflow, avoiding lingering of various unwanted smell. Various structural design is used to exhibit multiple identities, such as Chinese Dogong roof truss, timber portal frame, and steel portal frames. Here are the bicycle parking, the OKU lift, and the hydroponic farm in the clusters. The bridge that links the clusters consists of semi-shaded walkways and bicycle-friendly staircases. For the roof and skin, I played with different materials to express the diverse cultural practices of Bangi Lama. To conclude, I think Bangi Lama, like many other Malaysian sites, has vast opportunities to become more than what they are today. We, as architectural designers, should create pieces that could act as an extra push to let our cultural identity flourish and shine. Any architectural project should also instigate sustainable programs, especially since the outbreak of COVID-19, to bring people together as one stronger than ever. And that marks the end of my presentation. Thank you.